EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to the JAKIB Halftime Show. Philadelphia Eagles leading the New York Football Giants 14-3 right now at halftime. A touchdown by the Giants, wiped away by an offensive pass interference near the end of the half. I was getting a little PTSD with the end-of-half breakdown. That brings this game closer than it needs to be, but overall, a decent start for the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. They went no first quarter scoring again, which many people will be critical of them for, and I think it's rightfully so and fair, because you cannot believe that is a sustainable approach to offense when you are incompetent for 25% of a game, right? I mean, it will work against the New York Football Giants. It'll work against the Cleveland Browns of the league. It will not work when you get to playoff games, when you get to play the great people, the great teams in this league. So they got to get that fixed, man. I don't know where everybody's putting the blame on it. At this point, you got to blame some of it on the quarterback, on Jalen Hurts. Seemed to be holding the ball a long time in that first quarter. Took a couple, I think he had 3 first quarter sacks, and he's up to 5 in the first half. So definitely got to get that ball out quicker. But overall, he's had a good first half. He's 8 of 10 for 98 yards and a touchdown. What a beautiful throw that was to A.J. Brown. I mean, that was as good of a throw as you can get from a quarterback. That was on the money, on his back foot, in stride to A.J. Brown. Just a tremendous throw there from Jalen Hurts. So good to see him make up for it. That was a 4th down play, by the way, 4th and 3. And that was after Jalen Hurts really struggled in that 3rd and 3. Missed, I think it was Devontae Smith wide open. So he made up for it with a great throw there to A.J. Brown. A nice play there. We'll run through the stats. Saquon Barkley having a nice game here in the first half. 9 carries for 75 yards. He had that breakaway 55-yard run. We are approaching Saquon Barkley giveaway territory, everybody. He's got 75 rushing yards, and last I checked, he had 10 receiving yards. So he has 10 receiving yards, so 85 he's already up to. That puts us 40 away from a jersey. So 40 yards for Saquon in this half will mean I'm giving away a Saquon jersey to one of our great YouTube members here. I'm looking to be joined by John McMullen, by the way. Shortly, I'll get to all super chats as well. Appreciate all of you guys. I see the comment here from Des the Hebrew. More under center. I asked John whether, and he almost laughed me off the show on the pregame show about lining up under center more. Jalen Hurts was under center more. Here's John McMullen now joining me on the show on the JAKIB Halftime Show. Let's go to Johnny Mac. Johnny Mac, do I got you, brother?
Yeah, you got me, Zander?
Yep, I got you, man. Sound good. John, your takeaways from that first half, man. Eagles leading 14-3 going into halftime.
Yeah, I mean, New York Giants are offensively limited, to be kind. I think that's the story there. I mean, their running backs have 3 carries for 4 yards. So I think that kind of sums it up. Daniel Jones, not being comfortable with his protection. I think you see that from both sides. I think you saw it from Jalen Hurts as well, but certainly more so for Daniel Jones. The Eagles have 5 sacks in that first half. And obviously Saquon Barkley with the big home run, 55 yards. That sets up the first touchdown. Then you got the big shot, deep shot to A.J. Brown. So I think the difference is the Eagles at least have those playmakers that can make a big play sort of almost out of nowhere, whereas the Giants are so severely limited. Malik Neighbors does some nice things, but, the Eagles have been able to at least hold that to something accountable. 76 total yards offensively for the New York Giants in that first half. And, it was ugly. And that's good from the Eagles' defensive perspective, but we're back, like talking about last week. I said in the pregame show, very similar. I think it's going to be a very similar game. Now the Eagles are having an easier time of it today, but I don't know how much you can take out of it because the Giants' offense is so limited.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, John, it's like a sack party out there. Bryce Huff is on the board. Nolan Smith is on the board. Nakobe Dean's on the board. Jalen Carter is on the board. Everybody's getting a sack today, Johnny Mac. How much credit can we give him? I mean, you just, I don't want to take it all away, but
I give more credit to Josh Ezeudu, the backup left tackle for the Giants, who, they pretty much just went Status quo, went with the backup. They could have moved Illuminor over from right tackle to left tackle. Evan Neal, they could have given him another shot, but he's not holding up at all on that side. And, same thing to a certain degree with Fred Johnson. A little bit better from the Eagles' perspective. The Giants have 4 sacks, so Dexter Lawrence up the middle has been responsible for that. So there's some good and bad. I think he's kind of dominating Cam Jurgens in that inside when it comes to the pass rush. But Cam Jurgens was the guy who got outside with his athleticism that really sprung Saquon free for that 55-yard gain. So there's some good give and take there. But the difference is the Eagles have the 2 big plays, the 55-yard rush for Barkley, the 41-yard touchdown pass, which, by the way, on 4th and 3, and that pretty much sums up the frustrations with Jalen Hurts. On 3rd and 3, he's got 2 wide open receivers. He's waiting too long. He doesn't pull the trigger. Sort of a wasted pass to Devontae Smith, incomplete. Then the next play, 4th and 3, perfect dime to A.J. Brown down the field. Perfect dime to A.J. Brown down the field.
John, that was about as good of a throw as you'll have, man. That was money.
And you say, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to do on 3rd down? Then he makes a big play on 4th down.
Yep, no doubt about it. John, let's hit that first quarter scoring real quick. Another first quarter in the books with no score. Where are you putting the blame on for this, Johnny Mac?
Well, a lot of reasons. I think it starts, and Nick explained this pretty extensively on Friday. Everybody's got a part of it, the play calling, the quarterback, how quickly he gets to the line of scrimmage, the personnel guys, meaning, whether Jamal Singleton, Aaron Moorhead, Jason Michael, depending on who you're rotating in and out between running back, receiver, tight end. But they have talked about getting to they've talked about getting too late into the play clock, not having an opportunity to look at things clearly. I think that's part of the problem. But it's strange because, then they got going a little bit in the second quarter and it ends up looking okay from that perspective. But the bottom line is, they're going to be 4-2 most likely after this game, 6 games, and they're not going to have scored in the first quarter, which is quite the anomaly. Only team in the NFL to not score in the first quarter, and they're going to be 4-2. So it is really difficult to explain.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you can get away with it versus teams like the Giants and the Browns, but I would worry about how that affects you late in the year if you're not able to get going early. John, just your final. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, some of the teams, Detroit, you see today, Green Bay, and the Eagles saw them week 1, may see them again down the road. San Francisco, if they get healthy, they're really, really explosive, and that's where you're going to see, like, if they can't play the way they're playing offensively against teams like that.
Yep, no doubt about it. John, just one final thought on the injury report. I mean, looks like Mekhi Becton is out. He will not be back with a concussion. That offensive line beat up right now. Just your takeaways on that part of the game.
Yeah, it was interesting. Mekhi went down, ruled out right away with a concussion, Tyler Steen, and that's when the Eagles went on their little offensive run. So he's holding up pretty well. Some difficulty as expected with Fred Johnson in the pass rush. But, you can get away with it in a little bit in this game because you see how limited the other side is, and you've got the 2-score lead. The Giants just aren't equipped to come back from a deficit like that. So, a chance to persevere, work on some things, and get right back at it next week.
Yep, no doubt. John, just your final thoughts here before the second half.
Yeah, I think it's going to be similar to the first half. You're going to see some choppiness from the offense. It's just not smooth right now with the offense, and I think the defense is going to look good because the other side, it's basically, all right, sort of contain Malik Neighbors and let somebody else beat you, and a smart plan by Vic Fangio, and the Eagles are implementing it rather well.
Yeah, Vic Fangio seems to have the number of some of these lesser quarterbacks in the league. John, dialing up some blitzes. He's bringing everything today. John, thanks for joining in, man. We'll talk to you on the postgame show.
All right, thanks.
All right, great stuff there from Johnny Mac joining us on the JAKIB Halftime Show. Let me get to a couple super chats. Appreciate everybody watching right now. Birds up 14-3 at the half, waiting now for the second half to start. If they can close this thing out, they'll get to 4-2 on the year. Let's go to Roman. The Roman, appreciate you, brother. He says, I watch every snap, and either the QB is broken or the coaching isn't adjusting to making shorter routes or calling more runs to help the offense. I say coaching due to lack of run commitment. It's a fair thing to tie in there at the end. You know, what if the coaches aren't doing this well, why should I assume they're doing, the routes well? I do think I think it's a little bit of both. I think that Jalen's got to get that ball out quicker. He's got to understand the moment. Sometimes he holds on to it, looks too long, and then he results in, 4 sacks in the first half. But I do think sometimes, man, this offense does not do him any favors with these deep, long developing routes, especially when you have, you're missing 2 guys on your offensive line. Right? The common sense would be draw it up, get them across the middle, give them a quick option to get rid of the football. Sometimes they don't do that, and it drives me absolutely bonkers. But appreciate the super chat, Roman. I think you bring up a good point. Abe checks in. Howie Puff with a sack. Hufflepuff with a sack. Crazy work. Yeah, man, he looked good in this game so far. Now, that Giants O-line is not very good, but when he lines up in that 4-point stance, Bryce Huff looks like an actual player out there. So good to see him get on the board, and great to see Nolan Smith, by the way, who got the start above Bryce Huff on that first and second down. So interesting to see him out there. Caleb Brandon checks in. Caleb, good to talk to you. Good to see you, brother. Appreciate you being here. Caleb says, Kellen been balling last 2 games, 16 run plays. Yeah, Caleb, I'd like to see him commit to it a little bit more, right? I know, and maybe that's being naive of me, but Caleb, they come out and line up under center on the first play from scrimmage, and it was play action. They threw first down to A.J. Brown. Commit to it. Go back to it. Don't get away from it so quickly, Caleb, but I do think they're doing a better job here. They are much more committed to the run in this game. 9 carries for Saquon, 5 for Kenny Gainwell. And by the way, already 75 yards for Saquon Barkley in the running game, another 10 in passing. He's 40 away from a Saquon Barkley jersey giveaway here on JAKIB Sports. So looking to do that. Second half here, getting ready to get started. Let me get to my man, James Carver, member for 4 months. Big member chat here. Appreciate you, James. He says, J-Mac, but that AJ ball was 100% buddy ball. Are you celebrating outcomes versus the right throws, which were the double unders that were both open? Don't change on me now, J-Mac. I can't say stop it as well. It's actually a great point by you, James. It's really a great point. Now, here's the thing I'll push back on. The third down, he obviously made 2 mistakes there, and John pointed those out. But that 4th down, you see a 3rd or 4th string corner lined up one-on-one on A.J. Brown. I mean, Jalen Hurts hung in that pocket, delivered that ball off his back foot. I thought that was the right throw there. But you bring up a good point where celebrating the outcome of the touchdown versus the process to get there, which was really a bad play on 3rd down by the quarterback. How sustainable is that? It's a fair question, James Carver. Great chat there, my man. Appreciate everybody in the chat right now. Always have a great crowd, man. You guys are the absolute best here on JAKIB Nation. Can't thank you enough. Mark Sanchez, he is not doing a great job calling this game. I'll say that. I kind of liked Mark, but boy, he is struggling in the booth today. But they are back on the screen. Second half getting ready to start. Everybody, Eagles got to hold on here. Hold on, ride this sucker out. I think this Giants team is absolutely putrid. So everything is in front of the Birds. I think they should close out and win this football game. That's going to do it, everybody, for the JAKIB Halftime Show. Hit that like button on your way out. Catch you next time on the postgame show coming up with me, Dan Cilio, and we'll have John McMullen after the locker room interviews and press conferences. So we'll do all that after the game here on JAKIB Sports. See you there, everybody, on the JAKIB postgame show coming up right when the game ends. Thanks, everybody. Hit that like button.
EAGLES. Eagles.